Aloha, it is member-supported Hawaii Public Radio, all things considered on HPR1, and I'm Dave Lawrence. We have a fun guest returning to the show today. He is going to be at the Blue Note for a Thursday through Sunday run. It is December 15th through the 18th. Hang on one second, Herb. I'm getting some crazy noise on my end. Has nothing to do with you. All right, that probably sounds better. He's going to be at the Blue Note Thursday through Sunday, December 15th through the 18th. Thursday and Sunday are 8 p.m. shows. He's got a Friday and Saturday double show night ahead of him for himself, 6:30 and 9. He's going to be doing two shows those nights with his beautiful and talented wife, Lonnie Hall, joining us to talk about that, plus his latest album, Human Nature. It's a thrill to welcome back to All Things Considered, Herb Alpert. Aloha and mahalo, Herb.
Hey, Dave. How are you?
I am very good, brother. Thank you for asking. How about yourself?
Good.
You doing good?
Yeah, I feel good. I'm doing what I love to do. I paint, I sculpt, I make music. We've been traveling around, doing concerts around the country with the same group for the last 11 years. So I wake up in the morning excited about what I'm going to do next.
Sure, a lot of people are looking at the radio going, how do I get that?
Well, you got to be passionate about what you're doing. I'm a lucky guy because, when I was 8 years old, I had this opportunity to pick up the trumpet in a class in my elementary school, which was pretty unique, and I don't think it's available that much anymore. But there was the table filled with instruments, and I happened to pick up the trumpet and tried to make a sound out of it. I couldn't do it. I was just blowing hot air into it. But when I finally did make the sound, it was talking for me. It was doing what I couldn't do. I was very shy as a child, and so this trumpet was talking on my behalf.
That's a great way to put it. It almost opened doors for you in a way that regular conversation wouldn't.
Well, it opened major doors for me. I mean, it was. I always feel I'm very fortunate because timing plays such a big part in an artist's life. And when we started A&M Records in 1962 with the Lonely Bull, that was our first record, the timing was perfect. It was just one of those moments in history where something like that could happen. But if we tried to start A&M Records now in today's environment, I don't think it would have succeeded.
I don't think so either. What a crazy world it is now with music. And that leads me to Human Nature, your latest record, which before we get deeper into the record and what you were talking about, which is trying to sell records in this modern, sell music in general that's recorded in this modern era, how'd you come to cover what, he didn't write it, it was written for him, Steve Porcaro, John Betta's song, Human Nature, which became the title track of the record. What led you to do it this way?
Well, I always like that melody, and when I hear a melody that kind of haunts me, I try to find a way to do it that it hasn't been done quite that way before, because you're not going to compete with the Michael Jackson record. So that's what I've always tried to do. When I take a song that has a familiar melody, I try to make it my own, and that's been my pursuit all along.
And on that note of MJ, Superstar Cat, and it is one of these, he's got so many songs that even if he didn't write them, he turns them into something that becomes his by the way that he's delivered it. You have any good Michael Jackson stories from your long, illustrious career, bumping into him, anything like that?
Well, I met Michael. He was a sweetheart of a guy. He was very gentle, he was a great artist. He could draw, he could write great songs.
When did you meet him? What's the story?
Well, he recorded some things at A&M. We had a custom studio at A&M, and he just happened to be there one day. And he was good friends with with John McLean, who worked in the A&R department. They went to school together, so there was just a really close relationship with him. And I met him under those conditions. And I don't know. I don't know if he ever got his really people. I don't know if they really appreciated the talent that this kid had. I mean, he was extraordinary, and I think there was always an advantage of guys and girls that could dance. There's a certain thing about when these dancers made records. They always made that record in a groove that made it comfortable for you to move. they tried to suit it so they could move themselves, and when they moved themselves, they were moving a lot of other people at the same time.
That's a great way to describe it. It's kind of like James Brown. That's the only other guy like Michael I can think of who had that sort of. It was just his whole existence was rhythmic.
Well, I think truthfully, the whole key to being an artist these days, and yesterday as well, I mean, you have to come up with your own voice. You have to do it your own way, and that's James Brown certainly had that. Michael had it, and all the other artists that we recognize in today's world that have hung on for a while, have a way of expressing themselves in their own special way.
And you've kind of developed your sound too on Human Nature. There's and you'll correct me if I'm wrong, it has a real electronic feel on this. Are you using sequencers and drum machines and stuff at times?
Oh yeah, I'll throw in the kitchen sink too. Whatever it is, it's like I like to play. Sometimes friends of mine or artists and musicians send me tracks and send me loops and send me rhythmical ideas that I get excited about. I'm not thinking about whether it's electronic or what's involved. I just think about, is it fun to play? I've always been under the idea that if it's fun for me to play myself as a musician, it's going to be fun for a certain amount of people to listen to it. So that's what I do.
You were able to have huge success covering Burt Bacharach before you got Burt Bacharach and Hal David's Alfie. There's also Don't Go Breaking My Heart on here. Explain how these ended up being covers as part of Human Nature.
Well, I came up playing before A&M Records, before I had any success in the record business. I was playing weddings and parties, and I had a backlog of songs in my head, standard songs, and it seems like I get haunted by songs like Bert's Alfie. I obviously heard that in the 60s, but there was something about that melody that always haunted me, and I always wanted to try to do it, and I finally found a way that I think is pretty unique, and I remember playing it for Bert over the phone, and he loved it, so I went straight ahead with it. Bert's been a great friend of mine. He's just an amazing musician. He was doing this musical with Elvis Costello, and they had a series of songs that they wrote together, and there was one song that they had to drop because it didn't really work in the situation. So he called me and said, "Hey, I got this song that I wrote with Elvis that I think you might like." And I went over to his house, and he played the song for me, and it was an amazing experience for me because, Bert is, needless to say, he's an American treasure. He's written so many great, great songs through the years. So he sat down at the piano and started playing this song for me like he was auditioning a song, like he was at the Brill Building or something. I mean, he was so into it. His eyes were closed, and he was gyrating, he was moving, and he finished playing this song, and it gave me goosebumps, just the way he performed it. And, and after he finished, I remember giving him a big hug, and I said, "Man, you are really something special." So anyways, that song is one of the songs I did in this CD or album. What do you call these things these days? And the zeros and ones.
That's right. Well, that's the funny thing about it, huh? That's what I was...
So I did that song, Look Up Again, and it's a beautiful song. So that's a little Burt Bacharach story. Well, the other story was, I was doing this television special in the 60s, and the director, Jack Haley Jr., asked me if I could sing a song. I said, "Well, man, I'm not really a singer, but if I could find a song that I could handle, I'll give it a go." And here again, I called Bert. And I said, "Is there a song you find yourself whistling in the shower or something?" Or maybe you didn't get the right recording. Anyways, he sent me This Girl's in Love with You, which was recorded by Dionne Warwick. And I loved the song. I loved the feeling of it. I thought I could handle it. It didn't call for an extreme, voice. So got that from Bert, and then I called Hal David, who wrote the lyric. I asked him if he would change the gender, which he accommodated me, and I flew to New York, and he worked on that. And as I was leaving his place, I said, the same question I asked Bert. I said, "Is there a song that you find yourself whistling?" Anyways, he sent me Close to You, which I was doing as a follow-up to this guy, and didn't quite work out. I didn't really feel it, but I put it away in my drawer, and luck be have it, in 1970 I gave it to the Carpenters, and that was the song that really opened the door for them.
It's amazing how stuff like that works. Where'd you do most of this recording at, Herb?
You're talking about the Tijuana Brass or the
no, the new record. Where did you?
Well, hey, look, everybody has a recording studio in their computer. Yeah, I have a little studio at home here.
Okay.
But it's the way it is now. It's almost hard to believe. I did this album called Re-Whipped, which was a reversion, another version of the Whipped Cream and Other Delights album.
Right.
And this producer who gave me this idea, he said, why don't we get these great mixers from around the country and have them mix the Whipped Cream and Other Delights album, which we did, and he wanted me to put on some fresh trumpet here and there. So they would email me the music file that they were working on, and I would, add a trumpet, do whatever I felt was appropriate, and I would send just the trumpet track back to them because it's all time-coded, so that trumpet can just fit right into whatever they were working on.
Right.
And my point for bringing this up, Dave, is that I never met these guys, man. They could have been in Afghanistan, you know what I mean? We just made this album, which is really good, and it becomes a little impersonal these days because of what you can do with
the technology.
With technology, yeah.
Well, on that, when we were talking about because you don't even know what to call a thing anymore, and you're in this era where some bands, you've a lot of things have happened. You see a huge decline across the board generally in record sales. You see some people don't even buy them anymore because there's so many different methods. You could go on YouTube as one example and basically hear a lot of stuff, not everything, but a lot of things, new and old. And so when I think about human nature and who you're trying to reach, obviously people who are your fans, but are you doing this expecting digital, or are you expecting hard copy sales? How does it work when you, as an artist in today's environment, looking at the business side?
This might sound a little odd to you, but I'm not expecting anything. I do this for my own personal love of doing it. I love to record, and if other people like it, great. If not, I can understand that, but I'm not in that commercial world of how do you set it up and how do you promote it, and I let other people do that, but it's certainly not my pursuit.
Well, you don't need it after all you've made. That's a good answer, but I was just curious because it is such a strange world out there. It's nice to, like I said, that's going back to what we said in the beginning. You got a lot to be grateful for, and one of them is that you don't really need to have this thing sell a single copy, which is a real nice feeling.
Yeah, well, it's always nice to have that type of acceptance. But guys, I guess every artist is in the hopes that it's going to go on YouTube and it's going to go viral. So like 30 zillion people are going to hear it. But that's pretty remote.
It's a crazy, crazy world. I remember when I was a kid, there'd be a new song, and I'm growing up in Philly, and like there's a new song from Ozzy or whatever, and you'd hear it once every several hours on the radio. You're kind of waiting to hear it again. You can't get it anywhere. And now, flash to today, new song comes out. You go on YouTube, you can hear it, and then you can just keep scratching the itch of wanting to hear the hook over and over and over. So you can burn the song out in 1 or 2 days, and you'd be like, I don't even need to hear it again because I've just played it so many times. Because it's the immediate accessibility of everything kind of defies anything from when you and I were growing up.
Well, when we started A&M, it was a whole different world of radio. Radio was a little more acceptance. They would play disc jockeys. Disc jockeys used to kind of push records for you. When
Right.
I had Rise in 1979, there was a jock in New York, Frankie Crocker, used to play that song, back to back, and then he would hustle the song. I mean, I didn't give this guy anything to do that, but that's it was a different world out there then. Now it's like they're a little too. If it has a guitar on it, they don't want you. If it's a trumpet, it's instrumental. It's no good. It won't fit into their programming. All these little things that I don't know, make it really tough, especially for instrumental musicians. It's a whole other way of doing it. It's another way of making music. It's another way of, promoting it.
Yep. No, things have changed, and it's very uncertain too. It's not exactly like there's a clear path to any of it. When we think you got these shows coming up, Blue Note, nice venue, which I'm assuming have you even been in it yet, or this will be your first time even walking
as a matter
it?
of fact, I have been in it because my wife and I played at the Blue Note in Tokyo, and so I was curious to see what the Blue Note in Waikiki looked like. And it was pretty much identical to the layout, and the layout is great for the audience because everyone has a good, clear sight of the stage, and the sound is always good there. So, I don't know. We got excited about thinking about playing there. So, and I like that intimacy. Years ago I used to play with the Tijuana Brass for 20,000 people. In fact, we played at the HIC a couple of times, and you never really felt the feeling of, you'd look out over the crowd, and sometimes it was really dark and you couldn't really see. You just see people lighting up a cigarette in those days. But playing in these smaller venues, you're right on top of everybody, and I don't know, it's a different feeling. It's much more personal, and I really enjoy it, and so does my wife, Lonnie, who, by the way, don't tell anybody, but her real name is Leilani.
Oh, well, you told me that before, right, with the deep Hawaiian connection. That's really cool. And that's neat that you've, because Herb, as he also told us last time he was on, has a place here in the Honolulu area. So,
we've had a place for a while. We love the islands and always look forward to being there.
Now, speaking of the islands, as his presidency is coming to an end, you got to be honored by our Hawaii-born president in person. There's some great photos and video of that. And if you can, because it's radio, sort of paint a picture of both finding out that you were going to have this honor, but then when you show up, like, what was it like? Was there security and this and that to kind of walk us through?
Security? You kidding? There were dogs all over the place. No, it was great. It was really a real special moment in my life. I got this award, and President Obama could not have been nicer to me. He said he had some of my music on his iPhone, and the funny part of it, I don't know if the protocol is, after you get the award, you go into another room and you take a picture with the president, which I did, and then you take a picture with Michelle and the president, good, and then Lonnie comes in. The four of us are taking pictures, and Lonnie, in her innocent way, looks at President Obama and says, "You think we could have a copy of some of these pictures?" and he burst out laughing, man, like a little kid, and he said, "Why do you think I'm taking these pictures?" He's a delight, man. I'm just crazy about him. I love the way he represents our country.
That's a cool story. That's definitely a funny one, and maybe when he's got some more free time, he'll be able to stop in Herb Alpert's Vibrato Grill Jazz Club. How long have you had that thing in your life?
Well, we've had that club for 12 years now, and it's really it's very special. I always wanted to have a place where there's so many wonderful musicians, young musicians, old musicians that deserve to be heard, and the acoustics are fantastic at this club, because when we designed the A&M recording facilities, I had Vincent Vanhoff, who was an acoustician. He just specialized in sound, and so he was with me every step of the way as we were designing this club, and so the sound in the club is fabulous. Musicians love to play there. And I was very, set on the minute you walk in, I wanted the colors to be right and the feeling to be welcoming. That's the way it is there at Vibrato. So I'm very proud. It's like a pride of ownership type place.
I can imagine. And it's something in that's in L.A., correct? Beverly Hills?
It's in Bel Air.
Bel Air, okay.
Yeah.
And your Herb Alpert Foundation, it's always up to doing good, which is, an important thing for somebody like yourself to be giving back at the level that you do. It's very impressive. And some of the recent endeavors included $10 million to the LA City College. Explain what it is that drives your philanthropic efforts using your foundation.
Well, the foundation's been going since the early 80s, and we've been trying to, just do nice things. I'm not the Ford Foundation, but I wanted to do, small things really in a serious way. So we try to support these groups that are working with kids, creative. That creative process, I think, is an important ingredient for kids. I think all kids should have that experience at a real early age, to be able to either play an instrument or paint or sculpt, write poetry, dance, whatever it happens to be. They get to experience their own uniqueness if they stick with it, and then if they can appreciate their own uniqueness, they can hopefully appreciate the uniqueness in others. But this last donation we did at Community College, LA City College, I've never had a response like this before, because it really touched a lot of people in the way that, these kids that are financially challenged and don't have the opportunity to go to like the SC or the UCLA or the major universities could, have a chance to get their education at a community college. It's a 2-year program there. And if they put in the proper time and effort, they could transition to these major universities if they choose to. So it was just one of those gifts that just felt right. And what I'm trying to do is let people know across the country that these community colleges are really great. It's not as sexy of donation as it is to give to Harvard or UCLA or Yale or one of the major universities, but it's the one that touches the people that could use it the most.
It's a nice way of thinking about it. And on the concept of touching things that could use it the most, just curious, when it comes to your foundation, have you ever thought about getting involved with some of the crises that are occurring with animals around the world? Like, for example, the rhinoceros. Ever since 2008, when the GDP changed in Vietnam, now there's a 6,000% spike in rhino poaching, almost entirely to feed the demand for rhino horn in Vietnam and China. And these animals, there's 20 to 30,000 total left on the planet. They're killing them 3 a day. Gruesome killings. Often the animal is alive for days with its head practically, the whole top of its head hacked off so that people can get this horn. And it's a real crisis. There's babies left. Their moms are dead. The babies need milk every 3 hours. It's just like an unbelievable problem. And we cover it here because it's in the Asia Pacific. It's like these animals are dying because of people in 2 countries who refuse to accept this horn does nothing. They're giving it a status. It's like a way to impress your boss. You give him one of these things. It's really barbaric. Have you ever considered what kind of impact you could have on voiceless creatures like that really could use a break?
Yeah, no, I appreciate what you just said, and I'm sensitive to it, and it's kind of a depressing moment for me listening to you talk about it. But no, I'm very specific in what we're going to give to. We don't do medical, and we don't do things outside of the creative process. And that's where I'd like to keep it. But like I say, I'm not the Ford Foundation, so I don't want to spread myself too thin. And there are people that are, especially looking at situations like that, but I just can't do that and be effective at the same time.
That's cool. I just throw it out there in your head. Some artists do. We had Dave Wakeling on before from English Beat. He did a benefit in L.A. for one of the nonprofits that support efforts to try to fight the poaching, do stuff like that. I just stick it in your head because I know you got a lot of resources, and I feel terrible for these animals. If I had more to give, I'd be trying to create a little sanctuary on Lanai or something. I know Larry Ellison feels real strongly about him. He owns that island. So whenever I have a chance to put it in the ear of somebody who's got resources like yourself, who's been so blessed.
Hey, man, get into Larry Ellison's slush fund.
I would love to just see something good happen.
Well, it's really noble and beautiful that you're out there. You're doing the right thing by spreading that word out there, and so a lot of people are listening to you, and hopefully will chime in. But I appreciate you making me aware of that. I was aware of it, but like I say, I'm trying to focus my foundation so I can be effective with what we are doing.
And you're doing a lot of good things. I'm really looking forward to your trip to, excuse me, I'm looking forward to your return to your, what do you call this, your second home? Is that what this is?
Oh, yeah, it's our second home. We love it. We're always looking forward to it. And, mid-December is our anniversary, my wife and I, and we're going to be celebrating our 43rd wedding anniversary while we're playing at the Blue Note. So it's going to be fun for us. I mean, I love making music. I love making people happy. I try to make music on the positive side and the upside of life. You're not going to hear the blues. You're not going to hear anything that drags you down. It's going to drag you up.
Well, we're looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to seeing you, too, when you're in town and spending a little bit of time with you. Hopefully we can have you come by the radio station when you're
Dave.
in Honolulu.
Nice talking to you always.
I love it. Giving you a big hug. Pass along my very best to the missus, and I will see you in just a few weeks, it's going to be.
All right, Dave. Nice talking to you, man. Hooey ho. Hi, everybody. This is Herb Alpert. Don't even think of touching the dial. You're with my good friend Dave Lawrence. So he's on public radio, and it's a delight to be with him. So don't go anyplace.